In the last video, we talked about automating MIDI controller information. In this video, we'll talk about automating any type of reason parameter. Now, typically, reason parameters get their own lane for automation. And in order to make sure that happens, you want to go under the Options menu and make sure Record Automation into No Clip is not checked. If it is, then the automation will be recorded into the clip just like MIDI information. You may want that at times, but typically you want to keep the automation separate. So I have a 4-bar sequence here, and I have my subtractor. I want to make sure that this button here is turned on. That means the subtractor is recording automation. And the lane is automated as well, so I could record additional notes as well. Now we can move any fader or knob or switch in the subtractor and the automation will be recorded. But one thing is very important, and that is to set a default value. I'll show you why in a few seconds here, but let me set a good default for my filter frequency and filter resolution. Okay, that sounds pretty good. Now I'm going to play back my sequence. And while I'm doing that, I'm going to move these two filter parameters, frequency and resolution. I have loop mode on, so let's go ahead and record some automation. Now let's automate the resolution parameter. Notice how everything that's automated is highlighted in green in the subtractor. And notice also in the sequence that each one of those parameters got its own automation lane. And as we've already seen, we can turn them on or off, and we can also delete them by clicking the X. Now anything I automate will automatically create a lane. But if I want to create my own lane, let's say I want to draw in automation, I use this button right here. And I choose the parameter from the subtractor. Let's choose amp envelope attack. You can see up above it's been highlighted in green. And now when I record, I'll automate the amp envelope attack, and you'll see it automate right on that lane we just created. There you have it. Now I mentioned earlier that we need to set a good default value before we start automating, and I'm going to show you why. Let me undo all of these changes I just made. So we're back to the original sequence. And this time, I'm going to set a default value for the filter frequency. Let's set it right in the center. And watch what happens when I record. Okay, so I just recorded a little bit of automation. And if you'll notice, the automation drops at the end back to my default value. So when you stop automating, it goes back to the default value. And I'll show you later in the course how we can change that default value. But it's a good idea to set that first before you automate a parameter. It's also a good idea to make sure that under Options, you have that Record Automation into No Clip unchecked. Make sure that the automation indicator is on, and every parameter that you automate will be sent to its own lane in the sequencer. It'll be highlighted in green. And you can always create your own automation lanes by choosing something from this dropdown.